Hello, my name is Sydney and it is December. I think it's like the 9th of December. By the time this video goes up, it'll be much later than that. But I kind of wanted, it's been a while since I've sat down to talk to you guys about like my own writing and stuff. The last video I put up about that, I think, was my start of fall writing update, and that came out in like September, I think, or the beginning of October. And it's a couple months later. Not a whole lot has happened writing wise, to be honest with you. There's been a lot going on up here, but not so much with this, but I'll get into that in just a moment. I did do a couple of videos for NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo is over now, but if you ever need some writing inspiration, I'll link my 2 videos that I did down below. And I also did a video for NaNoWriMo for Project for Awesome, which is my last video on this channel, so I'll link that down below if you're also interested in just learning more about NaNoWriMo and all the good that I think it can bring you. So the goals of this video is to catch you up on writing things that have happened lately, including one very big thing that I have not yet mentioned on this channel, partly because I didn't know how to mention it. It's good. It's all good, don't worry. And then the other thing I want to do in this video is just do a very kind of brief recap of the 2019 writing year, because this will be my last video for 2019, and then 2020 gonna hit us up real soon. So let's just get into it. I believe I last updated you saying that I was going to be participating in NaNoWriMo and that I was going to be line editing Project Stormcloud Book 1, because if you remember some of my last several videos this summer, for July Camp NaNoWriMo, I revised pretty much the entire draft into August of Stormcloud. I changed, what did I even change about that story? Oh, I know I changed the beginning. That's right, I changed the beginning. I changed the location. I changed the dynamic between my main character Race and her mother. I changed a role that a character plays throughout the story, and I changed, I don't know, I changed some stuff, mainly in the beginning, but a lot of things that rippled throughout the story. And so I spent July Camp NaNoWriMo and the first week or so of August revising that, and I completed the draft. And I think that was like draft 8 or draft 8.6 or something random like that. And so I think that is the most productive writing thing I have done all year, because if you remember at the very beginning of this year, even at the end of last year into the beginning of this year, I had a huge writing slump going on. It was sort of a quarter life crisis. Stuff was going on in my personal life, and I just was not in the writing space. Like, I definitely needed to write, because like when you're going through some stuff, when I'm going through some stuff, the best thing I can possibly be doing is writing. Whether I'm writing about the stuff that I'm going through or writing about something completely different, the act of writing is just so fulfilling to me that just makes me feel better regardless of what's going on. And so I wasn't doing that at the time. And so it was a struggle at the beginning of this year, y'all, to do any sort of writing. I started a nonfiction project called Soul Dust, which is basically just an essay collection of nonfiction essays about my experiences being in my 20s and all that stuff. It's more or less a diary type thing that other people will hopefully be able to read one day. I'm thinking I might publish it when I'm 30 or whatever, but so I did a decent amount of that in the beginning, just kind of figuring out all the logistics of sorts of that story and like how I wanted to go about it and what kinds of stories I will be writing about. And then I started, I think I started to get into like Stormcloud at that point. I'm pretty sure at some point this year I was working on Pitchfork. Can't remember. It's been a year, y'all. It has been a year. So April Camp Nano, I kept rewriting the beginning of Stormcloud. I think I rewrote the beginning like 5 or 6 times, and each time I did make a decent, I did make a significant enough change, but it wasn't the right change, although I was continuing to move in the correct direction. And so eventually I figured out my beginning, and that's what I was working on May, June, July, August, that whole draft. So then after I finished my draft 8.6 or whatever of Stormcloud, and then I went to go visit my dad and step family in August, and then I started reading. Okay, that's what it was. I was supposed to be finishing up Stormcloud, but then I started reading Pitchfork on the plane, and as I was reading, of course, I can't help but edit and think of ways to change the story or improve the story for better or for worse. And so I had my notebook with me, and so I started taking notes on all these things, and I think I got through a decent amount of the story, and then at some point I just ended up putting it down because I was like, no, I have to finish Stormcloud. And so I finished Stormcloud, and then transitioning into the fall time, and I'm deciding that I want to do NaNoWriMo and that I want to line edit Stormcloud for NaNoWriMo. Fast forward I don't even know when it was. Hold on a second. Okay, I even wrote it down, y'all. Thursday, October 17th at around 4:45 p.m. while I was driving home from work, I was just struck by this idea, okay? Out of nowhere. Sort of out of nowhere, but maybe not so really. I got a new idea for a story, completely irrelevant to Stormcloud or Pitchfork. And if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I have pretty much only worked on Stormcloud and Pitchfork for like the last 5 or 6 years, and it's been just very cyclical, moving in circles, feeling a lot of times that I'm not making a whole lot of progress, even though when I look back I do see that I've made progress. It's just been making progress in circles. Basically, I've been thinking it would be a good idea for me to work on something new. I've been feeling that way for over a year. I just didn't have any story ideas that I was feeling super attached to that I could kind of jump over to for a bit just to get a break from Stormcloud and Pitchfork. But then bam, as I was driving home, and that's when I had the idea. I'm not going to tell you what the story is about right now because it's still very new. It's been like almost 2 months that I've had this story in my head. I have made a lot of planning. I have character names, I have setting, I have all the tidbits. I even wrote a summary that I shared with like 5 people once I wrote it. I have a lot of things planned out, and I wrote the first 2,000 words of the story for NaNoWriMo, and that was a fail. So basically, I got this idea like a couple weeks before NaNoWriMo, and so I had like a couple of weeks to plan out enough of the story that I felt comfortable writing it for NaNoWriMo. And so for the first week, that was super easy because that story was all I could think about. So all I wanted to do was plan the story because I like to plan to a certain extent, but then leave a little bit of room for, just kind of seeing what happens as I write. But then I don't even know what happened. I do know what happened actually. Let's just say I got really distracted at the end of October, and I am still distracted to this day. And as much as I have tried to write, during NaNoWriMo, the momentum just kind of kept slipping away from me because I was way too distracted to focus. I had almost no free time, and well, not that I didn't have any free time, but all of my significant bouts of free time, all of my weekend days were now occupied, and I did not have the mental bandwidth or the momentum to work on this new story idea, which I haven't thought of a project title for it. Like, I have the title of the story. Like, I already know what the story is going to be called, but I haven't thought of a way to refer to it on my YouTube channel. Actually, I'll tell you one thing about this story, and that is that it takes place in a hotel. So let's just call it Project Hotel. Not super catchy, but it's what we're going with for right now. And so for the first few days of NaNoWriMo, I struggled, but I tried. I showed up at the keyboard as often as I could to write, but I really only squeezed out about the first 2,000 words. And then I kind of hit a wall where, like, I didn't know how the next scene was going to go. And it's only the second scene in the story, mind you. I didn't know how it was going to go. And so that was part of my momentum slowing down, is that, when I kind of get to a point where I don't really know what's going to happen in a story, I slow down a lot, or sometimes I completely stop and I have to think about it for a while. But the problem is that normally when I think about it for a while, I'll come back to it with the ideas and I'll know what to do next. But let me tell you, I was distracted. I didn't have the opportunity to think about it the way that I should have. Although thinking about it on my drive home today, I think, has helped, because so I got this audiobook that's basically just like a online course but in an audiobook form. I think it's from Great Courses Plus, and it's about writing mystery and suspense fiction. And I've only listened to the first disc of it, the first lecture and a half of it, but it's basically just introducing me to it's like introducing the history of the mystery and suspense genre, talking about Edgar Allan Poe and Agatha Christie and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and like how their stories influence the genre in such major ways. And anyway, just being surrounded by this lecture on writing had me thinking about ideas, because I'm thinking that Project Hotel, my hotel story, will have a lot more mystery than I am used to writing. With Stormcloud and Pitchfork, there's an element of mystery, but they're not necessarily the central theme. And while Hotel Story, I'm not classifying it as a mystery story, I'm at this point just classifying it as like adult fiction, just like regular fiction. That's right, it's not young adult, I don't think. The mystery element plays a pretty significant role in the story. I just don't want it to be a mystery-centric story, because there's other stuff going on. So I'm thinking over Christmas break, I'm going to have a couple weeks where I can like actually have some time to sit down and write and work on this story. So I think that that's what I'm going to try to do. So I'm going to try to finish off this year strong. I still feel good about writing in general. I love writing. Writing is my life. It's my passion. It's one of the few things in this world that I am like super in love with, you know, like I just love writing and words and all that stuff. But so I'm gonna work on Hotel Story. I'm gonna try to start the new year with like at least a bit meteor of a meteor story, a meteor chunk of story, maybe at least the first third. I don't know, we'll see. But because I think 2020 could be the year of writing. Yeah. So to recap, started the year with a quarter life crisis and a huge writing slump, the biggest writing slump to date, just like emotionally and everything. Then I significantly revised one of my long-term projects, and I started the first new project idea I have had in a couple of years. Even though I haven't done a whole lot of like significant writing, like straight up drafting, I feel good moving forward. I feel good. I feel pretty good about what I've accomplished this year. It's been a good year otherwise, you know. It's just not had a whole lot of writing lately. So that's why I didn't end up posting a whole lot of videos during NaNoWriMo, except for because November was busy. In addition to being super distracted by a particular thing, I also went to Belgium. I went to Belgium for a couple of days. I did a chocolate tour. I tried a bunch of chocolate, and now it turns out I might be a Belgian chocolate snob, which is fine with me. I also went home for Thanksgiving to see my mom, and so I was there for a week and a half. And then I started rewatching Once Upon a Time, which I am now in season 3. And so, honestly, I can't complain about my November. My November has been very great. It's been also very busy, and a lot of other things were going on up here and just in general. And so my priorities now are to push forward on the Hotel Story and to try to get that working. But I'm also starting to feel the nibbles of Project Stormcloud coming back. Like, Project Stormcloud has been nibbling at me the last few days, and I'm trying to ignore it because I want to focus on Stormcloud, and it's better for me to focus on one project at a time. But Stormcloud is whispering from afar. It's kind of like that voice in Frozen 2. If you've seen Frozen 2, it's not a spoiler, but there's a voice that calls to Elsa that beckons her, and she's like, what is this voice? And right now, Stormcloud is that voice for me. Also, that voice in the movie is Aurora, who is one of my favorite singers, and a lot of Aurora's songs influence Stormcloud. So really, it is Aurora just calling to me from afar. But yeah, anyway, that is all I have to say for this video. I hope your 2019s have been super productive or fulfilling or both when it comes to your own writing, if you are a writer. I hope your 2020s are all the more fruitful. I hope mine is as well, although I guess the only thing that would keep it from being as fruitful as it could be is myself and my own laziness and my lack of momentum. You just gotta kind of go for it. You can't just sit there and wait for the inspiration to come. As busy as you might be, you know, you just have to, if you want to be a writer, you have to make the time for it. And that's a lesson I'm continuing to learn. This is Sid the Dreamer signing off for 2019, and I will see you in 2020. Thank you guys so much for watching. Toodaloo.